Welcome dear student for HSC online lecture initiative taken by Shet Vidya Mandir English High School and Junior College of Science and Commerce. I am Ms. Ragini Singh, Assistant Lecturer of Biology, and we are continuing with our chapter, that is human reproduction. Let's recall what we studied in the last module. This is the image that has been placed in front of you. You are supposed to identify this image and label this part, that is first, second, third, fourth and fifth. I request you all to be seated with your book, pen and pencil and do this recall part. So let's see what this diagram indicates. The diagram name is female reproductive system, and the first part is oviduct or fallopian tube, second is ovary, third is uterus, fourth is cervix, and this fifth is vagina. So this we studied in the last module about the female reproductive system. Let's start with the today's module. In today we are again continuing with our sexual reproduction topic. We are still continuing with our female reproductive system, but in this we are continuing with the external genitalia. The external genital organs of the female includes parts external to the vagina and are collectively called as vulva. Vulva means covering or wrapping, or pudendum. They includes the following parts. The first is vestibule. The vestibule is nothing but it is a median vertical depression of vulva enclosing the urethral and vaginal opening. So vestibule is actually the median vertical depression. This line going exactly in the center, that is the medially, and the vertically, that is the depression of the vulva enclosing the urethral and vaginal opening. This two external covering, this vertical lips-like covering, this thick fleshy lip-like covering is called labia majora. These are another pair of the protection or the covering which is called as labia majora. Whereas if you find out or you see internally, you can see a thin lining. This thin lining is called as the labia minora. So what is labia minora? These are the another pair of the thin folds inner to labia majora. So labia majora is externally and labia minora is internally, which they merge posteriorly to form the fourchette over here, while towards anterior end they converge into a hood-like covering around clitoris. So when you talk about the posterior portion over here, they converge to form the fourchette, but when you talk about the anterior portion, this portion is a clitoris and over here they are forming a hood-like structure. So this is the two parts of the external genitalia, that is the vestibule of vulva and labia minora surrounded by the labia majora. Now what is clitoris? A clitoris is been replicating similar to the penis in case of the male reproductive system. A small conical and sensitive projection lying at the anterior end of labia minora over here. This portion, small structure, is called as clitoris. It has a pair of erectile tissue and that's why they are been analogous, or you can say they have been homologous to the penis. The corpora cavernosa and it's homologous to the penis. Labia majora, already stated before, this part is the labia majora. These are a pair of fleshy folds of skin forming the boundary of vulva. They are homologous to scrotum. They surround and protect the other parts of external genitalia and encloses the urethral and vaginal opening in the vestibule. So this labia majora is actually enclosing this openings, that is they are acting like a protection part. Let's see where is mons pubis. This fleshy and the elevated structure is called the mons pubis. It is a fleshy elevation above the labia majora. The mons pubis and outer parts of labia majora shows pubic hair. That is the hair growing at the time of the puberty is termed as the secondary sexual characters, and they are growing at this reproductive organ, that is in the private parts rather, which is called as the pubic hair. So these were the 5 parts of this external genitalia. Let's once again see. The very first we started with the vestibular vulva, labia majora, labia minora, clitoris, mons pubis, enclosing the urethral opening, vaginal opening. I hope this is clear with you all. Let's move ahead. Accessory glands, vestibular glands or Bartholin's gland. Now it is a pair of glands homologous to bulbourethral or Cowper's gland of the male. What was the function of the Cowper's gland? The main function was to pour the secretion. Similarly, this accessory gland or vestibular or Bartholin glands, they open into vestibule and they release a lubricating fluid. This is the median part is the vestibular vulva. These are the 2 Bartholin glands. These are the vaginal opening, and it is releasing its secretions into this for easy passage or the easy movement. Mammary glands. Another structure related to the female is the mammary glands. Accessory organs of female reproductive system for production and release of milk after parturition. Development of mammary gland occurs at puberty under the influence of estrogen and progesterone. Lactotropic hormone, that is LTH or prolactin, helps in development of lactiferous tubules during pregnancy. Of course, mammary gland is an important structure, especially for the development of the small baby. Now let's understand the structure and the function of this mammary gland step by step. The mammary glands are a pair of rounded structures present in the subcutaneous tissue of the anterior thorax in the pectoral region, that is from 2nd to 6th rib. Of course, we have the 7 pair of ribs. They are the modified sweat glands. Very important word, remember, they are the modified sweat glands. Each mammary gland contains fatty connective tissue and numerous lactiferous glands from which the milk is actually going to lactate. The glandular tissue of each breast is divided into 15 to 20 irregular shaped mammary lobes, each with alveolar glands and lactiferous ducts. So this is the structure of the mammary gland. Here you can see this is the position of the ribs. The muscles running between the ribs is called intercostal muscles. This is pectoralis major muscle. Adipose tissue, that is the fatty tissue. Lactiferous glands, which is going to secrete, and this is the lactiferous duct, pipe-like structure. The erectile portion is called the nipple, and the dark portion surrounding this nipple is called as the areola, and the external covering is nothing but it is the skin. Alveolar gland, the main function is to secrete the milk, which is stored in the lumen. Lumen means space of alveoli. The alveoli open into mammary tubules. The tubules join to form mammary duct. Many mammary ducts join to form ampullae, that is the flask-like structure which is connected to the lactiferous duct. This converges towards the nipple located near the tip of the breast, and it is surrounded by a dark brown colored and circular area of the skin called as the areola. So this is another diagram of the same topic, that is the mammary gland. Here you can see these are the glands which is going to secrete. This is the duct and this is the sinus, or you can say the space. So whenever the baby actually suck the breast for the milk, there is a signal going from where all the milk ejection will take place. We'll start with the another important topic, that is the structure and development of ovary. Now, very important thing related to the ovary. Each ovary is a compact structure differentiated into central part called medulla and outer part called cortex. Now, where is the medulla and where is the cortex? Let's see. If you look at the center part where all the blood vessels, arteries and veins are present, we call this part as the medulla. Whereas the other part, all the other external part, if you talk, which consists of all these circles in, this is called as the cortex. Now the cortex consists of small cells. The cortex consists of small cells called as germinal epithelium. As it is going to germinate in the future, that's why it is called as germinal epithelium. The stroma or loose connective tissue of the medulla, since this part is the medulla, consists of the stroma, which consists of blood vessels, lymph vessels and nerve fibers, whereas outer cortex is more compact and granular. Still continuing with the same diagram and same topic, the cortex basically consists of tiny mass of cells called as ovarian follicles. So all these are nothing but they are the ovarian follicles. These are collectively formed from an immature ova originating from the cells of the dorsal endoderm of the yolk sac. In simple term, you can just remember that the cortex region consists of the developing cells, that is nothing but we call it as the primordial follicle. The cells migrates during embryonic development and they divide mitotically. Now these cells are called as oogonia. So these are all the stages related before the development and liberation of the mature egg. Now, as the oogonia continues to grow in size, they are surrounded by the granulosa cells that we studied in the Graafian follicles. The process of oogenesis starts much before the birth of the female baby, and by the end of 12 weeks, the ovary is fully matured. It has more than 2 million primordial follicles in it. If you can see, all these small are nothing but they are the primordial follicles. These primordial follicles will mature into primary follicles. From primary follicles, they will mature into secondary follicles, and this secondary follicle is called as Graafian follicle, from which the egg is going to be liberated, and this process is called as the ovulation. As we already know, the female, when the female fetus, when she is already inside her mother womb, the ovary is developed and all these primordial follicles are also developed. Almost the female have 2 millions, or rather you can say 2 lakhs of the primordial follicles. It has the 2 million primordial follicles in it. And at the time of the birth, only 40,000 of these follicles are remaining. Now let's see how does this development takes place. Germinal epithelium present over here, primordial follicles. Moving ahead to further stages, that is primary follicle, secondary follicle, tertiary follicle, that you can see at the day 12. Exactly at the day 14, there is an ovulation, that is the egg is basically released from this mature follicle, which is called as the Graafian follicle. If this egg is getting the sperm, the Graafian follicle converts into corpus luteum and it will survive. But if the egg is not getting the sperm, the corpus luteum will degenerate and it will form a white scar of body called as corpus albicans. So we have already stated, out of the 2 million primordial follicles embedded in the fetal ovary, only 1 million remain at birth and only 40,000 remains at the time of the puberty. Whereas this is not the case in case of the males, it is only seen in case of the females. I hope you have got a fair idea of this structure of the ovary. Now let's understand few words. The large scale destruction of the primordial follicles during growth is called atresia. The development of primordial follicles into mature or Graafian follicle restarts with the onset of puberty. During each menstrual cycle, only one of the primordial follicles starts growing to form the Graafian follicle. So there is two important terms, that is atresia, that is the destruction, and the Graafian follicle that we have also studied in previous module. Now what is menarche and what is menopause? In each cycle, alternatively one of the two ovaries produces the Graafian follicle. It means once the female starts the menstrual cycle, once it will be right ovary, another it will be the left ovary, every month alternating to produce the egg. The first menstrual cycle or menarche, the first menstrual cycle is called as the menarche. It begins normally at the age 13. And menopause, that is the stopping of the cycle, happens at the age 45 to 55 years. The period in between the menarche and menopause is the reproductive age of the female, and it's approximately 32 years. In this time, the female will be producing a maximum 416 eggs. See, you can say that it's a 28-day cycle. So every month female is releasing one egg, and the menstruation start at the age of 13 and 14. That is an onset ki female is fertile and she can become the future mother, and that is called as the menarche. At that point of time, we can say that the female is actually at the puberty stage. When it comes to the later, that is in the late 40s, approx 45 to 50 years or 55 years, the menstrual cycle stops, making the clear indication that the female is entering into the old age period, and that is called as the menopause. Every month one egg is released. So the total egg that is released is 416 eggs. That's why it is always suggested for the females to have a early child, not to go for a very late pregnancy or something, that is in the 40s or something, because you are already entering into the menopause. And once the menopause starts, it's a beginning ki whatever the puberty or the the energy with which the female is staying is now going to slowly and steadily declining. Now let's see the structure of the Graafian follicle. Now when you talk about the Graafian follicle, it's a mature ovarian follicle. This is the diagram of the Graafian follicle. A eccentric secondary oocyte. What do you mean by eccentric? This eccentric means something which is at the center is called centric, but something which is shifted from the center is called as the eccentric. It is surrounded by a non-cellular layer of zona pellucida. Can you see this layer? It is called as zona pellucida, secreted by the vitelline membrane of oocyte. The outermost protective and fibrous covering is called theca externa. This outermost protective covering is called theca externa. Internal to theca externa is the theca interna. Very important structure and diagram. Inner to cellular, there is theca interna, and this theca interna produces the hormone estrogen. Inner to theca interna, the follicular cells form the membrana granulosa. when you talk about these cells, is called as the granulosa cells. And this cells is actually forming this hill-like structure, and this part is called as the discus proligerasa. And this is called as the discus proligerus. Even you can see the corona radiata cells surrounding this zona pellucida, and both the zona pellucida and corona radiata are very important structure with respect to this egg, that is the secondary oocyte. I hope till now the TS of ovary was clear. Now let's start with the menstrual cycle, also called as the ovarian cycle. Now menstrual cycle is the characteristic feature of the primates including humans. It involves a series of cyclic changes. Whereas when you talk about the other organisms such as dog, cats, they do not undergo menstrual cycle, they undergo estrous cycle. The menstrual cycle approximately lasts for 28 days and it is characterized by the 4 phases. The cycle is divided into 4 phases. The very first phase is menstrual phase. The beginning of each cycle is taken at the first day. Now what is this menstrual phase? Listen to me very carefully. The menstrual phase is also called as the bleeding phase. It starts from the day 1 and it is approximately lasting for the 5 days, and in some cases it can be even 3 days or 7 days. In this there is a heavy loss of the blood, approximately 45 to 100 ml. The endometrium, that is the lining which is enclosing this uterus, it's broken down and all the debris including the egg which has not been fertilized with the sperm and the blood vessels are shedded and it coming out through the vagina. The hormones, that is estrogen and progesterone, which is actually required for maintaining this endometrium lining, it has been decreased. Due to this, the menstrual cycle takes place and the endometrium at this point is only 1 mm in diameter. Since the uterus has lost its egg and there is lot of blood flow, it is also called as the weeping of the uterus or funeral of the unfertilized egg. So this is menstrual phase, menstrual cycle lasting from 1 to 5 days, on an average 3 to 7 days. Next phase is in menstrual phase. During this 5 days, many primordial follicles develop into primary and few of them develop into secondary follicles under the effect of FSH, that is the follicle stimulating hormone. Now let's see how this FSH plays an important role. This is the second stage called as proliferative phase, follicular phase or post-menstrual phase. Now in this phase what happens? In this phase actually what happens? The egg which has already been lost was the continuation of the day from, you can say, from 1st to 5th, whereas this proliferative phase is the day from the 6th to 13th, is actually from the day from 6th to 13th, and the main hormones that is responsible over here is the FSH, that is the follicle stimulating hormones. And because of this follicle stimulating hormones, again the ovary is been triggering to produce one mature secondary oocyte, and till the time it is been producing, the endometrium again begins to redevelop. Because if the egg is getting fused with the sperm, there is chances ki baby will come over here, and this is the house for the small embryo and fetus and even the zygote. So this all preparation is going for this egg to come and to sit over here. So this is the second phase called as proliferative, follicular, and since it is taking place after the menstrual phase, it is called as post-menstrual phase. The endometrium begins to regenerate under the effects of estrogens. It means the estrogen level also here is increasing. Regeneration also involves formation of endothelial, endometrial or uterine glands and network of blood vessels. Thickness of endometrium reaches 3 to 5 mm. Look at the thickness compared to with the first phase. This is very more, or you can say the thickness is more as compared to the first phase. Next is ovulatory phase. Now when you talk about the ovulatory phase, this is the shortest phase of the menstrual cycle and it takes place on the day 14th under the influence of a hormone called as the LH, that is the luteinizing hormones. Ovulation may be accompanied by the mild or severe pains in lower abdomen, and over here if you see, the endometrial lining has been developed to a very good extent. Your last phase is the secretory or luteal phase. During this phase is between the ovulation and beginning of the next menses. This phase is the longest phase. It lasts for 14 days, that is you can say from 15th to 28th day of cycle. After the release of secondary oocyte, remaining tissues of Graafian follicles transform into corpus luteum under the effect of LH. Corpus luteum begins to secrete progesterone and estrogen. The ovulated egg may get fertilized within 24 hours. However, in the absence of fertilization, corpus luteum survive only for 2 weeks and then degenerate into white scar body called as corpus albicans. And once the corpus albicans has structure takes place, again there is a signal that there is no zygote coming and there is no implantation taking place over here. Thus again the first phase, that is the menstrual phase or the bleeding phase, start taking place. The corpus luteum releases the progesterone, small amount of estrogen and inhibin. Under the influence of these hormones, the endometrial glands grow, it becomes coiled and starts uterine secretions. Endometrium becomes more vascularized and thickens up to 8 to 10 mm comparatively from the second phase which was 3 to 5 mm. Here it is 8 to 10 mm. Inhibin stops the secretion of FSH because there should be someone to even give a negative feedback. These changes are necessary for fertilization and subsequent implantation. If the ovulated egg gets fertilized and embryo is implanted, there is a secretion of HCG, very important, that is a human chorionic gonadotropin, which extends the life of corpus luteum and stimulates its secretory activity. Presence of HCG in the maternal blood and urine is an indication of pregnancy. That's why in the urine test it has been checked for the presence of HCG. In absence of fertilization, next menstrual cycle begins and the cycle continues. So this was all about the menstrual cycle. I hope you have got a very clear idea and you are able to understand. If not, you can again see the video and then you can proceed further. This is the graphical representation of the menstrual cycle where you can see the gonadotropic hormone, that is FSH-LH, ovarian cycle, ovarian hormones level and uterine wall. So this is from 1st to 5th day where the uterine line is shedding, estrogen progesterone level low, the egg is actually into a very small stage, FSH-LH level low. Whereas when you talk about the proliferative phase, endometrium has again started to repair, hormonal levels is rising. Over here you can see FSH level is also slowly and steadily rising, whereas when you talk about the 14th day, ovulation take place and luteinizing hormone shoots up, and finally is the secretory phase where this Graafian follicle after releasing the secondary oocyte turns into the corpus luteum, and if the pregnancy takes place it will survive, but if the pregnancy is not taking place it will change into corpus albicans, and again the hormonal levels, if you see, it's lower, and slowly and steadily again when the first phase will start, estrogen and progesterone will also decline. So this is a complete cycle of 28 days. Very important from the exam point of view. You are supposed to remember the stages, that the 4 phases, for how many days it lasts, the hormones and the changes in the uterus. Always remember, from a very hygiene point of view, you need to practice during the menstruation. You should keep the pubic area clean, change the sanitary napkin for every 4 to 5 hours, maintain personal hygiene during menstruation, disposed, use sanitary napkin properly, just do not throw it like that only. Using damp and dirty clothes or using sanitary napkin for a longer time can act as a specific environment for growth and multiplication of bacteria, and thus it leads to infection, and females are actually more prone to UTI than compared to the males. So this is very important things and the practice that you should consider. And if you have any problem with it, please do talk about it to your mother, to your sister, to your best friend, or to a doctor. Plus please do not hide and keep, because this is a very crucial part for the, especially for the females. Now let's see how much you have understood. Your first question is, name the hormones produced by the ovary. You can take your time, pause the video, write down the answer and then check the answer. It is estrogen and progesterone. Your second question is, which is the hormone responsible for production of lactiferous gland during the pregnancy? And the answer is LTH or lactotropic hormone. Third is, what is the function of Bartholin's gland? To release the lubrication fluid. Name the matured ovarian follicle. This you can quickly answer, and the answer is Graafian follicle. Name 4 phases of menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle, proliferative phase, ovulatory phase and the secretory phase. What is the function of corona radiata? To avoid polyspermy. In addition, you can even write down protection. Ovulation is under the influence of which hormone? That is, on the day 14 the ovulation takes place, is under the influence of which hormone? And the answer is LH, that is luteinizing hormone. Name pregnancy hormone indicator. It is HCG, that is human chorionic gonadotropin. Which part of menstrual cycle is also called weeping of uterus? It is the menstrual phase, that is the first phase. I hope you all got the answers right. Now do take your assignments. Your first assignment is, you need to describe female reproductive system of human. Second question is, which as the function of the female accessory glands? Write down the functions. Explain the structure of Graafian follicle with diagram. And last one, explain the menstrual cycle with all 4 phases and draw the TS of ovary. All these 4 questions are very important from the board exam point of view. I hope the module was very helpful to you all. Thank you for attending this module. We'll again come back with the next module of the same chapter. Thank you.